Back First, Land First is the latest group to criticize Amnesty International for its education campaign. Last month, it launched the Sign the Smile Off campaign to tackle the state of basic education in the country. But the BLF does not agree with the use of former South African Prime Minister Hendrik Verwoerd as the face of that campaign. The BLF will hold a press briefing outside the offices of Amnesty International to give its objections to the organization's usage of a person it describes as the architect of apartheid. We now cross live to our reporter Mbali Tetani, who's in Saxonwold. Mbali, a very good morning to you. The BLF has reacted quite strongly, preparing to lobby and group up outside the offices there, saying that the use of somebody, former South African Prime Minister Hendrik Verwoerd, is not justified in this case. What is the latest there that you have?
Well, of course, we do know that the BLF is coming here to the offices of Amnesty International. They are expected to hold a meeting first with the leadership of Amnesty International South Africa. Of course, this follows that image that they've been using and this campaign where they're saying sign off the smile of Hendrik Verwoerd, because we do know that he is the father of apartheid, and saying that also looking at the education sector in South Africa, saying that his legacy will still be carried through, saying that looking at the education sector right now in South Africa, it is riddled with many inequalities. Amnesty International saying that if the problems in the education sector is not fixed, Hendrik Verwoerd will be smiling down, saying that the legacies of apartheid have been followed through. Of course, we do know that the education department has, of course, also reacted to this, saying that it is an issue that is quite sensitive in South Africa, and say that they shouldn't actually be using Hendrik Verwoerd's face to actually carry through this campaign. But this meeting is expected to start at around 9:30. We are expecting the leader of the BLF, Andile Mqitama, to make his way here. They are expected to hold their meeting with Amnesty International, and immediately after that we are expecting Andile Mqitama to address the media, which has already begun to make its way to the offices of Amnesty International.
Now, Mbali, we also know that the Education Department has also reacted to this, as you mentioned, and they're saying that it shows the lack of depth and understanding of the intricacies of the basic education department, really speaking quite strongly against what Amnesty International is doing. As we analyze the education department and do almost a comparative analysis for Verwoerd versus what's happening today in our education sector, what are the stark differences?
Well, of course, Paul, we do know that there are still major problems in the education sector, and this is why Amnesty International has started this campaign. But they have also admitted, and we've seen that there have been a number of improvements that have been made in the education sector, but saying that we cannot ignore that the current problems that still face the education sector right now, 25 years after democracy, saying that the Amnesty International saying that there is no excuse that we still have a number of inequalities, infrastructure problems in the education sector. I mean, we still have issues around the issues of pit toilets being used in some of South Africa's schools 25 years after democracy. So basically highlighting that we need to solve the problems facing the education sector, not only for infrastructure purposes, also the quality of education that is being given to the learners or the pupils in South African schools.
But one cannot close ears and deafen themselves to the impact of using Verwoerd's face in such a campaign. Many saying that they're finding it offensive and it wasn't the right approach to take regarding the emphasis of the Amnesty International's plight.
Of course, Paul, and that's why this is such a sensitive issue. And I mean, the likes of Amnesty International are not backing down. They're still supporting their campaign. And a number of people are saying that we cannot be using former leaders, especially somebody who's known as the architect and the father of apartheid. So it was quite interesting to hear, especially from Amnesty International's side, whether are they doing more harm than good. We do know that this campaign highlighting the issues around the education sector, coming from their side, do they actually think that this is actually trying to improve the current system or the current education system that we currently have?
Thank you so much. Let's leave it there. Our reporter Mbalita Tani outside the Amnesty International offices in Saxonwold. Of course, a briefing set to get underway, just giving clarity and more depth into this rather controversial campaign.